are pretty westernized, many of them now, and they do speak among themselves. It helps that I do speak Mandarin Chinese, so I listen in on my mom's conversations with friends back in Taiwan or friends here who have emigrated here from Taiwan. And I would say that they're pretty powerful women. Most of them are, without husbands now, they're widows. But they couldn't have gotten to today without the tenacity and their strength of character. So I think we, as the younger children of this incredible, there will never be another generation like them, because that was civil war in China, the diaspora all over, Asia. But they have qualities and they have characteristics that we need to learn from, number one, but then don't put into their mouths or their minds what we think they're going to say.
Yeah.
Give them the chance to tell us, because they will. They definitely will.
You know that now that you've had a lot of time with your mom.
Yes.
What a gift it is for you to be able to be healthy enough, financially okay enough to be in the right mind to take this time to get to know your mom in her elder years.
Well, it is important, though, to say that not everybody has this opportunity. It has not been a financially smart thing to do, right?
It wasn't for me either.
Right. However, I couldn't not do it because there are certain things that I call the infrastructure of family caregiving that you need to have in place. And if this is going to be a marathon and not a sprint, then I've got to prepare what I call the infrastructure ready for the next stint, because I call it, they're only going to keep going downhill, but every so often you have a plateau of a time when you can take care of some infrastructure things.
I like the way you put it, a marathon. It's not a sprint, because you never know. Sometimes it is a sprint for people. Everybody has a different story.
Right, but there are more and more of our elders who are living longer with chronic illness, and that is a very different paradigm.
So how do you take care of yourself?
It hasn't been easy, really, because there are so many tasks to do. So this is where I'm going to open up to others and ask them for tips and their suggestions.
Thank you so much for saying that and for sharing your story on both sides of the coin. Because it's so easy for us to say, I know my story, I know Mom's story, because our story is they don't want to talk, and I'm done with it. And so it's so important to open up that dialogue, because stories, no matter what culture you're from, even in the old caveman days, it's caveman, cavewoman days, stories connect us all.
Yes.
No matter who you are, storytelling is in every culture.
Yes, and just like the work that you do, it does educate, it does inspire, and hopefully in this family caregiving space that we're talking about, it will help others figure out what to do. Because from everyone's experience, there's something to be learned. And I've learned so much from others, hearing their stories. Because in essence, storytelling around a fire is the passing on of knowledge and then of wisdom, too. Yeah. And I think it's important for us all to, number one, feel empowered to share our own stories. Number two, to have the confidence to know that your story is just as important.
Your story matters.
Yes. And then number two, to take these stories and hopefully be able to do things through advocacy, through community outreach, through all the things that need to be done so that our elders can be, independent, they can live a dignified life, and they can live a life with purpose.
Well said. The most interesting thing about this whole experience in meeting you and all the other amazing stories and inspiring stories about the other Asian caregivers is that all of our stories are so similar. Even though we may experience them differently, the feelings, the emotions, and are there, and knowledge is power. And I've said this many times before. Maya Angelou is one of my favorite quotes: "Is when you know better, you do better." And Excellent. So I'm hoping that now people, they know better. Hopefully they do better before it's too late, and start cultivating those relationships and sharing those stories with one another. Yes. And extrapolating them, and then being organized enough to then take action when it happens.
Excellent, because not everybody grew up as part of either New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, and now Texas. There are more and more Asians.
America's a big old place.
And so often we were the only, AAPI, Asian American or Pacific Islander. And so now the point is that we're going to be facing a different life stage with parents that came as immigrants. and we have smaller families. We can't call upon second cousin Joe to come and sit with him or her for 2 hours because we're small nuclear families that came as immigrants. So there are many, many different things that are very similar to what other family caregivers are facing. But then there are things that are very different. And so number one, let's identify them. Number two, then let's work together to see if we can find common solutions. That idea of doing a glossary, bilingual, English, Chinese, because I don't know so many terms. I try my best. There's the 世界日报 World Journal, and they have a magazine, and there'll be a Q&A section about Medicare. So I try to cut that out every time because that's the way I learn my terminology. I grew up speaking Chinese, but I don't read it or write it very well because I came to America so young. But if you're dealing with a parent who goes to a doctor and they give a diagnosis, and then you have to try and explain it
and
to them.
translate it, yeah.
Yes.
That's a brilliant idea. I'm surprised there's no app for that yet.
We should work together on not only technological things, using technology for pill reminders and whatever, but the functional needs of bilingual, bicultural families in America, not just Asian American, Latino, others. We have needs that are not being met. So I think it's now to empower ourselves to identify the solutions, come up with them, and then help our elders live a dignified end of life.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that we're starting the conversation now, finally, in the 21st century.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add?
No, just to say thank you for your heart, because family caregiving is really about heart, because our parents took care of us when we were younger, when we were vulnerable, and now it's our turn to help take care of them as best we can.
What's interesting for me through this whole process is that I didn't realize that I was a caregiver when I was in my early 20s and I quit my job to take care of my father. I didn't even know that was a word, and I thought I was the only person doing it. I didn't really come out about it and tell anybody that I quit to take care of Dad. I had a family member say, what are you doing? You used to be on TV, and what are you doing with yourself now? You're like nothing.
Why did you do it?
Why did I take care of my father? Good question. Nobody's ever asked me that. It's instinctual, partly, and it's part environmental, because I grew up. I saw my dad's mother lived with us. She was a second mother to me. She inspired me to be kind to one another, to be kind to ourselves, to be kind to myself and other people. She taught me a lot of things spiritually and life lessons. So in seeing my father and my mother take care of her, and then I was part of that caregiving too. I mean, we had to change her colostomy bag, help her go to the restroom, take her to hospital visits. I mean, it was very difficult. And I then became a caregiver for, my family. We became caregivers for people that died in 13 months.
Oh my goodness.
So why did I do it? Because it's an honor.
What was the most important thing that you learned from that experience, Tuan?
The most important experience is that, and I wish I would have known this in the past, was for us to ask more questions. And that's why when you were talking about don't just think that your parents don't want to talk, be there, be around them. And my grandmas isolated themselves, and my grandfather, in their homes. We'd go to work, come home. We don't really talk to them. We do our thing. And it's so important to start asking questions. Just start by talking to them. I think that's one of the most important things. And you asked, why did I quit to take care of my father? It didn't even cross my mind not to quit and take care of my father. My job was going really well. I became a journalist on TV, TV reporter, and that was my dream. And I gave that all up to take care of Dad because, he gave up his whole life to take care of us and bring us here. So, he's a very successful construction man and owned a construction company in Vietnam and left, and 10 of us ended up in a trailer park, $4 in our pockets. So just knowing that part of my story made me realize that, the story continues through me.
Yes.
And it's no question. It's like if somebody falls, you pick them up.
Yes.
You don't just walk past them. So.
Another thing that I wanted to raise is that I say it this way. I'm a single woman, so I say, Mom has me, but I don't have a me. So I think another thing that I want to teach people, if they can, is we have to prepare for our own futures. She has me, she has a daughter, but I don't have me. So what is our future going to be like? And that's why I like to challenge organizations, the government, the private sector, the public sector, the nonprofit sector. What needs to be in place so that we have a dignified, independent, and purposeful old age? A lot of things have to be. So I like to tee up some questions about what will need to be in place, because I know how hard it's been for me to care for my mom, and she has a me. I don't have a me.
And I hope that this story that you're telling, and that you're brave enough and courageous enough to share, will help lead to a conversation about the me.
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause
because
yeah.
it's needed.
Yeah.
Because we are, if we're lucky,
Yeah.
we're going to age.
Yeah. And, nowadays when you have kids, you don't even know if they're, they
Yeah.
will take care of you.
Or, just the distance, which so
Yeah.
many people are facing, long-distance caregiving.
Yeah.
But for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, that whole transnational, and then coming here older because, let's say they came from India or China, they got a good job, and then the parents are here, they're away at work, they're home alone, isolated. I've been following in the media all the different very interesting innovations. People are actually going home, back to their home countries. People have started caregiving, either I guess you could call them assisted living or communities. And these elders are voting with their feet and returning to their home countries. So the point is, there isn't just one paradigm, but it's up to all of us to figure out what is the best answer, solution for us.
Amen to that. Hopefully this will start the conversation.
Yes,
So thank you so much for inspiring us, educating us, and inspiring us to tell our stories. Big Sister Lily.
No, thank you very much, number one, for your interest in this topic. And I really want to thank Daphne Kwok and the AARP team, because they're trying to open up this angle of what Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders face that are generic to family caregiving, but also the norms that come from our cultural traditions and heritage that make it just a tad different.
Thank you, Big Sister Lily.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
so much.
Thank you, Tuan.